naked shamanism. Welcome to With Insights Radio. I'm your host, Iggy Garcia. I will take you on a journey across the universe through shamanism, metaphysical, and holistic. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. All right, everybody, welcome to Iggy Garcia Live, episode 92. My guest today is Jost Van Dyke. He's an intuitive astrologer and psychic medium. He's going to be with me here for probably the next 60 minutes or so. We're going to kind of sit and chat and talk a little bit. We're going to have some good conversation. We're going to ask a lot of questions. And if you have any questions online, just feel free to ask. I don't know why I have the double screen. I think somebody was trying to come on there, and I think I'm trying to join myself. Hey, how you doing, Iggy? Hey, how's it going, Iggy? Hi, Iggy. How are you, Iggy? Anyhow, like we start all our shows here, we begin with lighting the candle, giving thanks and honor, and thanking our ancestors for being there with us, thanking our parents, our moms, our dads, if we knew them, and just give thanks to all the people that had to work and help us get to this point in time. There was a lot of people that were involved to get us to this place, in this moment, in this space. So I light that candle for them, and then we also burn a little sage like we always do, just to kind of clear the space, clear the area. Everybody just take some time and breathe. Some of you probably just came home from work and relaxing, and some of you who just are out of work, and just because of the circumstances that are before us, probably just need a little break. And I know we have a big break right now, but just take that sage and just put it all over you, put it all over the room. We'll burn that. The candle will burn as our show goes on. So hopefully everybody's doing well. I see everybody's popping in now. Good to see everybody. I see Kate, Sammy, Angelie, and then I see Kim. A whole bunch of people popping in. I want to say hello to everybody. So, okay, I'm going to bring Jost on. And see Adriana. Welcome to the show. I'm going to bring Jost on here, and we're going to get started with this, and we're going to see where it takes us and in what direction we're going to be traveling, because we're living in some interesting times. So we'll bring him on. Jost, are you there?
I am.
Welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So the last time I think you were on any of our shows, we was with Mark Matheny, I believe, back in February 2nd, 2016. I don't know if you remember that show or not.
I do. I didn't realize it was so long ago.
Yeah, time flies, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know Jost is a friend of mine and many others here on Facebook and all over the internet and all over the world. Jost is an intuitive. He's an astrologer. He's a psychic medium. He's a Renaissance man of sorts, if you want to call him that. But Jost, what is going on, my friend? I mean, how else would I start this show?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because today we had Venus in Taurus trine Jupiter in Capricorn, and then the Aries sun was in conjunction with Chiron and Lilith. Mm-hmm. So today was kind of a jam-packed day astrologically. And I think what the feedback that I'm getting from clients and friends is that despite being in lockdown and with the pandemic raging outside, that people are experiencing new dimensions of their own beingness, just because they've been closed off. They've been forced to just be with themselves. And there really are silver linings. You know, to every crisis is always a silver lining.
Right. So, for example, what would be your silver lining?
Well, I was remarking to a friend today that my cabin fever has really sort of forced me to cross the threshold into a new dimension. I'm not one that likes to be pent up, and certainly not under sort of, although it's not really being enforced yet, but to be on the side of caution. We're all sort of being, and as I said, locked down, and that's something that would make me normally kind of claustrophobic.
Okay.
But I just sort of quieted those voices or that energy that rises up from within me that would make me want to react in a certain way, sort of sedate that side of me and get in tune and in touch with something else that's trying to speak.
Okay. I know for a lot of people this is kind of new territory. You know, you have to deal with yourself. You got to look yourself in the mirror. And for some people it might be easy, but for others who are very active, I'm a very active person, so for me it's been kind of like really interesting. It's been like, wow, so what do I do? So I, of course, been exercising, eating better. I haven't really watched as much TV, but I have heard across the board, like you had mentioned, that this is actually a time for people to reconnect with themselves. I don't know if the audience is listening in, and if they agree with that or not, just give us a little hearts up or a little thumbs up with that, because right now I think we're going through some serious transitional period in our human existence. I don't know how you feel about that, Jost. I mean, if you agree with me with that, or if you think it's just what I know you post a lot of interesting things, and some of the things are really fascinating what you post.
Well, thank you. It's awesome, and yet, well, when one is awestruck, I mean, it can be an amazing experience, and it can also be a horrifying experience. So, it's what's happening now is sort of a playing out of visions I had 40 plus years ago. And so to see them sort of take shape and happening on the world canvas is so validating, but also, I mean, I hate to see it go down the way it's going down, even though I felt that there would be some major catastrophic things happening. But, synthesis, you're in the midst of a synthesis of sorts. And, with any sort of dialectic where you have, an antithetical period of time that's giving way to a synthesis, there's going to be chaos and catastrophe. It's like, that's the act of creation, and it's just the flip side of destruction, creation. So I think that's what we're experiencing, and those of us that have been doing the work over the past several years, or for a few of us, many, many years, we're prepared, basically. I mean, of course, the universe always throws random things our way. We never really know what's going to come knocking at our front door.
That's true.
But for the most part, I think a lot of us are prepared for what is happening. And so for me, that gives me comfort and solace that I'm not alone, that there are others that, that feel the same way and are looking at what's unfolding in the same way as well.
Yeah. I know there are people out there who I've run into who don't really think there's even a virus. They just think it's an opportunity to take advantage of humanity. I don't know if that's true or not. There just seem too many things, to disprove that one. But people are really working on trying to rationalize what's happening out there, what's going on. Because, we're kind of watching the world from the screen, from information that's getting passed to us from friends to friends. You probably have received more videos and articles than you could probably ever imagine about everything. I know I have. And so it's like there's a lot of information overload too. So it's almost like you have to like step back for a second and just take a break because it could be daunting.
Yeah, I think with it goes back to old adages and cliched adages that you can't always believe what you read.
This is true.
And you really can't even always believe what you see. And because it's like the Rashomon syndrome. I mean, how someone hears or sees something, you play the telephone game, it all gets sort of misinterpreted as it goes from person to person.
Right.
But, when COVID-19 was first starting, back when it was called coronavirus, again, because I had written a few posts around, I guess it was around January 20th, 24th, was when it first news when it first hit China, it was hitting the States, and I was looking at charts and kind of tuning in, and I felt like that that my initial response was that it was a bioweapon.
Okay.
And but I didn't know where it was coming from. But I did feel like that this was engineered. And then I had started writing about it. It's interesting when you look through history and pandemics and epidemics that they do tend to start in the East, and because I don't want to point the finger of blame at China.
Right.
But for example, the bubonic plague did start in China, and it went along the trade route.
Okay.
And then it wound up in Europe. So I thought that I really felt like that it was going to, if one looked at historical documentation of how epidemics work, that I felt like that this new virus was going to reach the level of pandemic, and it would affect the economy, and it has, and it is, and it's interesting to see that connection between a virus, a disease, and economics. But then when you think in terms of money is energy, and energy is a currency, and money is a currency. And so, despite it all, whether it's a bioweapon, whether it is a big psyop, we are dealing with alarming symptoms. I mean, people are getting sick and they're getting near death.
Yeah.
They're reaching near death, and many are also being healed as well. So when you think about it, I mean, it really is. This is a time when a lot of systemic disease is rising to the surface. It's for us to, like you said at the beginning of the show, I mean, it's really forcing us to look at the man in the mirror, look at the man and the woman in the mirror, and do a lot more self-reflection. So it's interesting how it all has played out, that the pandemic erupts. It forces us to stay in our own home, to stay within our own inner sanctum and look at ourselves, really deeply look at ourselves, and see how maybe certain unresolved things, shadows within ourselves, are collectively playing out on the world stage. And then it takes the form of a pandemic.
Right.
Because unresolved shadows on the global stage has reached a pandemic. So, does that sort of answer your question?
Yeah, Yost, it does. But it's funny. They tell us not to be fearful. They tell us not to be afraid. But yet they use all these words there that put people in a panic. Pandemic is a very powerful word. It's not like when you cast those spells with words. It does things to people. Spell casting is very powerful, and some people, like you said, who are do the work, understand these messages. But there are other people who don't understand, and just even people in my own family, they're freaked out just because of the wording and the way the news portrays and the visuals they show you and the things that are going on. So, the media sometimes is a very powerful tool, and sometimes it's a very disheartening tool as well. But man, it's overwhelming. I mean, I find myself also getting into these places where, man, you just start to question things. You start to ask things about yourself, about the world, what's going on, what's happening, what's going to happen. I know we're supposed to try to live in the moment, be in the moment, but sometimes that's difficult.
Well, of course, and like we were talking a while ago about we're in the midst of a synthesis happening, and if you don't mind, going back to I think it was in April of 2013, there was a lunar eclipse.
Okay.
And it was a really powerful lunar eclipse. And eclipses, their effects ripple out. Well, traditionally they ripple out for 6 months to a year, but I, as an astrologer, I think eclipses, an astrological aspect, can ripple out for much longer.
Okay.
It's like, when an aspect happens, it's sort of like when the bull meets the china shop. Okay, so the bull meets the china shop, but it's the blowback after the bull has hit the china shop that is really what, it's cleaning up the mess.
Right.
That is the big thing. But getting back to that lunar eclipse, and the way I had interpreted that lunar eclipse is that historical documentation that we've been indoctrinated as a reality construct is being ripped apart. I mean, can we really trust what we've been taught in our little schools and churches? And I think we're seeing that no, we can't. That that a lot of it is just myth and fable. So a lot of people are having to deal with that as on top of the pandemic. But again, the pandemic is just a symptom of a root cause.
Right.
I mean, it is a reality in itself, but it's not really what's going on. There's something that's definitely happening behind the curtain.
I agree with that. We do have a question here online. Adriana asks, according to the current astrology aspects, how long do you see this pandemic lasting? Since you're the intuitive. Sorry, put you on the spot there.
No, that's fine. Well, I don't... Okay, let me think about this and how I'm going to say this. Going back to what we discussed earlier about people being in lockdown, and they're having to do the inner work, and that's creating change. That's creating like butterfly effect. We may not see the the cumulative effect of that butterfly effect as each individual is transforming. They're sort of being incarcerated and enforced to make these transformations. So you've got that aspect, and you have there's certain astrological aspects that are affecting people individually, and then you've got aspects that are affecting the collective.
Okay.
But individuals comprise the collective. So I know I'm going it's a roundabout way of answering the question, but I think that and we were just talking about silver linings, I do think that I don't think this is going to just stop like in April that we've been led to believe. I think this is going to go on for a little while longer. It needs to.
Okay.
It really just needs to.
Okay.
We're at a come to Jesus moment.
Okay.
And the thing about it is that, and going back to what I said previously about how certain aspects come through and stampede like the bull in the china shop, we're still reeling from the Uranus and Pluto square that happened during the years of 2014, 2015. And a lot of people, they heard about the Uranus and Pluto square, but they felt like they went through that aspect unscathed. And a lot of people had a false sense of security.
Okay.
And something that I kept repeating on my wall was that no one escaped this astrology. I don't care what you think or what you're seeing in your life. It's going to eventually come knocking on your door. And so that's what we're seeing right now. I think that this pandemic is really just a blowback from the Uranus-Pluto square.
Okay.
And I know that I'm backtracking, and I'm going to get to present time. I do feel like there are some encouraging aspects coming up. There are also some challenging aspects coming up. But I think the important thing is what people are doing for themselves as far as their own spiritual transformations. So it's kind of a double-edged sword kind of thing.
Okay.
And it also goes back to there are those that are going to do the work. I mean, they realize that these are the conditions that I've been placed in. These are the parameters. I can't do what I normally do, so this is what I'm going to work on while I'm within these parameters. And there are many that are doing that, and there are many that are just bemoaning being in this situation. So they're not going to get it.
Right.
But there are so many that are getting it. And I do really feel like, even before this pandemic happened, there is a critical mass awakening that's happening across the globe. Of course, the mainstream media doesn't want to report that.
Right.
Because that would mean they would lose control. But there is a mass awakening happening. And so in spite of whatever challenges that we're being forced to endure, I really do feel like there's going to be a positive outcome from this.
Right.
So to go back to answer the question, I don't think this is going to just stop overnight. I think this is going to go on for a little while longer. But to create the silver lining, I think there's going to be more awakening. And also, there's going to be, we mentioned a while ago about, this is just, the pandemic is really just kind of like the smoke screen for what's really going on behind the scenes. And I think that what's going on behind the scenes is going to be exposed and disclosed. And so that's going to create a whole nother scenario and a whole nother picture. So, and again, but that's kind of a after effect of the Uranus and Pluto square.
Okay. Very good. I hope that answered your question, Adriana. But, I do agree with you, excuse me, that this is an awakening. for humanity, for Mother Earth is a sentient being, as you and I know that, and most people do. She's alive. She's a living thing, and she picks no favorites. She does what she does, and the virus lives. We live. Whoever survives, she keeps going. She supports whatever happens. I think that we are awakening to the facts that that we cause a lot of problems here on this planet, us as humans, and some of us do our best to make things work and come out right. But I think the vast majority of humanity takes Mother Earth for granted. They just don't respect her like they would their mom. Well, some people don't even respect their mom, so it doesn't really matter. So I guess at that point, but the point is, we are in a mass awakening. I think people are going, oh my God, what's happening? What's going on? In life as we know it is completely changed. Whatever you thought, whenever you were doing last week or 2 weeks ago, that's done. That's over. That's over with. Where we go from here, that's a good question. That's what I ask myself. So where do we go from here? The financial institution has been rocked. So how do you see, astrologically, how do you see the financial parameters working out?
Well, as most astrologers were forecasting before Uranus hit Taurus, Uranus entered Taurus last year, and Taurus rules finance.
Okay.
Think of the Merrill Lynch bull.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we knew that when Uranus hit Taurus, that the financial systems were going to get shaken, rattled, and rolled. And so again, this pandemic is just a symptom, and it's an after effect of now it's the after effect of Uranus and Taurus, and you also have Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn, and Pluto in Capricorn has been there since 2009. I may be wrong. I'm so bad with ephemeris. 2008, 2009. Anyway, really it started building up steam around 2010. And huge change, huge transformation. The United States, when you draw the United States natal chart for July 4th, 1776, the United States Pluto is in Capricorn.
Okay.
So, and we're getting ready, as Pluto is moving through Capricorn, we're getting close to the United States Pluto return. And so that's major. I mean, that's a major pivotal nexus. That's a major turning point. And we're already seeing that the cornerstones of our government are kind of questionable. Like, what really were the foundations? And then how some of those foundations and some of those creeds and philosophies that the country was built upon, how they got bastardized and misrepresented and misinterpreted and exploited over the past couple of 100 years. And so all of that's all part of the disclosure that we talked about. So a lot of that corruption and deceit it's like the dirty laundry is being hung out on the clothesline for everyone to see. And they need to see it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with that. I know this is kind of one of those things that's kind of out of our control to some degree. The only thing we can control is maybe just separating, isolation, whatever they're requiring of us. But it's really out of our hand. I mean, really, because regardless of what we think we know about this virus, we really don't. I mean, I have people asking me, if I think Trump's doing a good job or his administration. I have people asking me, is he going to get reelected? I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, or how you feel about that, but it's kind of interesting, in my opinion. It doesn't matter who's in office. This is a messed up situation, and hopefully they do the best they can. Come on, really? Do you think they really want to screw us over? I don't believe that, personally. I think anybody, under the circumstances, is going to do the best they can. And they're not going to get it right. This is Iggy's opinion. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think I'll plead the fifth on that.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. I know it's a very difficult thing, and everybody's going, they have their opinions, and that's right, and everybody has the right to their opinions. I know that it's just a very difficult situation, and I just hope they get it right, the best they can.
I will answer in a roundabout way, in that it goes back to, I forgot who originally said it, that those who don't learn from the past are, forced to relive it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of the current problem is that people didn't learn from their mistakes. People didn't learn from what history taught them.
Right.
We live in a day and age where it's about right now, and there's like a 15-minute memory retention span. And then if it happens if it happened more than 15 minutes ago, it really doesn't have any significance. But it does have significance, because whatever happens keeps rippling and keeps creating karma, or resolution of karma. But that's, to me, personally, that's kind of what we're dealing with now, is that we haven't learned from history. And so we're having to keep repeating over and over again. The beneficent universe has given us so many opportunities to change and to get on the right path, and many have. It's very encouraging. Again, the critical mass awakening, it is happening, but there's so many that are standing in the way, and prohibiting the progress, even though they may think that they're being progressive in it. But I have to question that, because it's their denial and their refusal to look at some of the past administrations and some of the choices that past administrations did. That personally at the time I found quite appalling.
Okay.
But so there's that. And how Trump is dealing with this current situation, or how he's not dealing with the current situation. I feel like he kind of inherited a mess.
Okay.
So I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Sounds good. No problem. Let's see if you have any questions here. If you have any questions, guys, let me know. We'll go on and move along here. I'm not trying to get into the conspiracies too much. I'm just asking you questions, just kind of get your opinions, because I know that you do a lot of research on things. This 5G thing, what do you think about that? I've heard a lot of different things, and then some people don't even know what 5G is. Is that a real thing? Is that affecting part of this pandemic crisis? Like I said, there's so much stuff going on, I can't even keep up with it.
5G, wow. Well, it's all in service of having faster and better quality internet and upgrading the cybersphere. But at what price? It's 5G. There has been research done on the effects of 5G, and some anti-5G researchers have equated it to just go ahead and put us all in a microwave. Because what it does to the cellular structure, it completely rearranges and will ultimately destroy the DNA. So what's really been interesting is that as this pandemic has been looming and has been ensuing, they're putting up more and more 5G towers all over. I mean, I was doing some investigating last week, and there's already a website that you can find out where the nearest 5G tower is. And the thing about it is that people think that because it's so powerful that it's going to be like these mammoth towers, like the usual cellular towers. Nope. They're not.
They're not.
They're unnoticeable. They're very discreet. Unless you knew exactly where they were, you wouldn't even notice them. I mean, I haven't seen one, but I'm thinking they're probably the size of like a traffic cone.
Yeah, they're small.
Yeah, and so I think there's cities that are already beginning to kind of unveil their whole 5G, even though there are other countries. I think there are countries in Europe. I'm not sure which ones. I don't want to give out false information, but they're outlawing 5G. So, there are conspiracy theorists that are making a connection that 5G is somehow worsening the effects of the pandemic, and it would, just because of the endemic qualities, the inherent qualities of 5G. But I think it's more about, and this is just my opinion, but I think it's more about that during this pandemic, it's sort of like a wag the dog. So while this is going on, everybody's distracted by this, they're putting up these 5G towers.
I have heard that, and I've heard people mentioning they've seen trucks, they've seen people working on things. You know, you made an interesting point. You said that it's like a microwave and it does something to the DNA. So if it does something to our DNA, that means it does something to the DNA on everything on the planet.
Yeah.
So viruses included.
Yeah.
So basically we can find ourselves in a really messed up. Maybe they got agitated, maybe they got turned on because of this virus. I mean, I read some articles where during World War II, they actually activated the radar system around the world, and that kind of changed, started acting things up and causing things, changing people and stuff. So, I don't know, you know, for the cost in using technology and everybody wanted to communicate and talk faster and send information quicker, man, there's enough waves going through this planet right now. I don't know. I'm not sure where we're heading. Sometimes it's a little scary, if you ask me.
It is scary. Wear your black tourmaline.
Okay.
Get out your black tourmaline.
There you go, folks. Black tourmaline. They have cases made out of phone cases with black tourmaline too.
I'm sorry?
They say they have phone cases with black tourmaline on them.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how they work. Maybe your phone won't work. I don't know.
Well, I've got a big chunk of black tourmaline right next to my laptop, so yeah.
Yeah, I got some behind me on the shelf here, so. Yeah, I don't know, Jost. I'm not sure what happens next. You know, it's kind of like we're in the moment. We're here. We're living. And, you know, everything that we knew, restaurants, cafes, you know, bars, if you went to bars, you know, just all the things that are customary to American living, you know, or global living, has been kind of turned off because of this unknown, unseen, you know, existence. You know, they also doing their thing. So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of curious to know what the stars say. You know, the astrology says here for the next, just for the next few weeks or the next week, because I know sometimes their forecasts go out deeper, but I'm just curious, what we can do for just this short period of time.
That's a very good question. We're moving toward a supermoon that. Give me a moment here, just a second. There's a supermoon. I believe it's on the 7th of April. Yes. And supermoon. So it's a full moon. It's going to be a full moon at 18 degrees Libra. So with any sort of supermoon, it's a very powerful lunation.
Okay.
And what does that mean exactly? With any sort of full moon, it's some sort of culmination. So I think what's happening is, again, it goes back to that we're in the midst of a synthesis. Mm-hmm. We're in the midst of a huge spiritual awakening. And we're also in the midst of facing the consequences of past choices. Mm-hmm. And so and again, it goes back to, those of us that didn't learn the lessons of the past. And so I think what is culminating is really, like I said before, like a come to Jesus, and it's facing the consequences of bad choices. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's ugly, as we're seeing, and I hate it, but it's it's something that's already it's something that was already set in motion. And as you know, with things that are set in motion, you just have to let it run its course.
Yeah, just let it ride. Mm-hmm.
But I think if there's anything it's a message that I can impart to any of our listeners is, just take the higher road and know that this is a process, and really it's about a spiritual awakening. I don't know how many people have experienced this, but when you get an illness, mm-hmm. and then when you recover, you're someone new.
Yeah, you're like
it's almost like it's like a systems upgrade that's happened, but it took the form of an illness. Does that make sense?
Oh, I totally get that. I know when you're sick, and then all of a sudden when you're back, you're just like, I feel pretty damn good. I'm like,
it's a new you.
Yeah, you're totally jacked up.
So
you're like energetically,
yeah. So I think what we're going through is sort of like a systems upgrade. But you asked, what do I see a few weeks out? I'm looking toward that supermoon on the 18th.
Okay.
And also we're heading toward the eclipse portal, which, just a second, let me just make sure I'm getting this information correct.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, how apropos, but there's a lunar eclipse full moon on July 4th. So,
July 4th, okay.
The United States has been like a shiny example for the world, mm-hmm. but the world has been watching the United States go through this transformation, and with the eclipse portal starting on July 4th, which is the Day of Independence, I think there are going to be, again, it goes back to what I said before, there are going to be major disclosures that are going to be happening. And we're just going to have to pin back our ears and go through it, because it's probably going to be really ugly, but necessary. So I'm sort of I've been putting off answering the questions that you've been put for me about, like, what's going to happen in the future astrologically. We're not done with this.
Right.
And again, this is something that was set in motion years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And people just they were in a state of denial.
Right.
And they've been in this sort of mind-controlled stupefaction over what mainstream media is feeding them. Sort of like how, mommy and daddy feed pablum to children. It's kind of like symbolically the same thing. And I think they're going to see that a lot of the talking head pundits that they thought were burning bushes, divine burning bushes, were just really kind of snake oil salesmen, women. But all that has to happen. And the astrology has been leading up. It's sort of like a breadcrumb trail. It's been leading up. It's been putting the breadcrumbs on the trail. Those that have eyes and ears to see and to assimilate what's going on are going to be okay. Those that have been in a state of denial and not doing the work, not so much. So, again, it goes back, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, as far as the astrology, for some it's going to, even though it's still challenging, the way they process it will be different from those that haven't been doing the work beforehand.
So I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm going to ask people in the audience too this question. Do you feel like your intuitive and your psychic ability is heightened, or do you feel like you're having a hard time reading, hard time projecting forward, just, I don't know, something maybe that I'm missing or not covering? Anything that you could share?
Well, and it's part of that critical mass awakening. A part of that is that many people are waking up to their intuitive gifts. I mean, I think for so many centuries, so many years, it's been instilled in us, indoctrinated in us to not really, trust one's intuition and use one's psychic abilities. It has to be all mind. What do you think about this, instead of what is your body telling you? What do you feel? What is your emotional body telling you? And I think more and more people are getting in touch with that. And again, I think that's all part of the process that's ongoing. But I do feel like a lot of people are I know a lot of my clients, the people that are coming to me, are sharing that their intuition and their psychic abilities are growing exponentially, and they're kind of shocked by it. So I think that's a really encouraging thing.
Awesome. On one of my shows, couple shows back, I mentioned the veil. Like, the veil has totally ripped open. Like, it's, we talk about the thinning of the veil. For me, the veil is like not even there now. It's like so much stuff coming at us, and we're learning. And for me, it's kind of been a mixed bag. Like, my physical body's like want to catch up with my spiritual aspects of myself, and then when I try to relax, it's like I go all over the place. It's kind of funny, but I do believe the veil has totally ripped open, wide open, and here it comes. Here comes the downloads. Take it or leave it. It doesn't matter. You're going to receive it, because that's just the way this process is going to be for us. That we will reconnect with pieces and parts of ourselves that we've totally discarded and totally discounted, and let go. Kind of like what you started the show off with. You were talking about that, and I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions. They're going to have a lot of questions. They may not have a lot of answers right away. So I think people who are healers in the community, who are light workers or whatever you want to call them, are probably going to be called on a lot to do a lot of work and to help a lot of people process and move through this awakening.
Well, I totally agree. I think there have been a majority of light workers and healers that they may have felt like they've been marginalized and unrecognized for their gifts. They've been the coach has put them on the bench, or they're waiting in the wings. But the thing about it is that we've been relegated on the sidelines for a reason, because we're witnessing a black hole event for life happening. You know, and had you been, out there doing, you would have been sucked in. And as things start breaking down and closing down. So there's so many that are going to be, their time is arriving. It's almost like they've been behind the scenes and they've been preparing the earth plane to welcome their gifts, as it were. And I think that time is quickly approaching, where, you're going to be, coach is going to throw you in the game and you're going to take center field and you're going to really be called to do your work. But again, it all goes back to that, spending all those years in preparation. And yes, it's been grueling, it's been arduous, it's been heartbreaking, but, the time is coming where you're going to see that, all that time that you spent kind of on your own, kind of dismissed and marginalized, was for a reason. You were being protected, as it were. And we're seeing, the time is coming, it's happening. Where, even with the medical profession, they're in overload right now with the pandemic.
Yeah, they are.
But again, we're dealing with what the pandemic is doing right now. What about the after effects of the pandemic?
Yeah.
The what is it? The post-trauma that happens. That's when light workers will come in and they can help really do the healing. What really needs to be healed.
Yeah.
On an etheric level.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just know personally my feelings and my opinions, which are just mine. It's going to be an interesting time. We're going to be entering, some uncharted waters, uncharted territories, some uncharted beliefs. Things are going to be questioned like nobody's business. And, I think people have the right to know, feel, and I think people already know. There was a time where we could just telepathically speak to one another. And I think now we're kind of going back to that same thing where we just kind of look at each other, 6 feet, isolation. But you still know what someone's feeling, You still know what's going on in their mind. I was walking through the park, it's funny. The young people is 6 feet, but the elderly people are like holding hands and walking, and they're like, screw this, man. As much as I have left on this planet, I'm going to enjoy it. So it's kind of interesting to just watch the dynamics of generations and how they're handling it and how they're moving through it. My generation's a little, they're a little precautious, and then the younger generation, they're a little bit more rambunctious about it. And the older generation just kind of like, they're worried, concerned, from what, and these are people that I've known. So I can't make this, I don't want to just make that a blanket statement, but just watching how the different people respond and react to this pandemic and what's going on. For me personally, I'm kind of enjoying it because it's kind of like a downtime, and it's also time to recharge and reconnect. And I'm pretty excited. It's somewhere. I'm really sad that people have lost their lives, and possibly more people might lose their lives. That's the only downfall about all this. But it's also, I think, it's a time when it's your time, like Native Americans would say, today's a good day to die. And there's a lot of truth in that. If you've done everything that you possibly can in your life and done the things, here's your chance. Like everybody's been posting, a reset, a start, the great reset. This is a time for you to do something different if you haven't done that already.
I totally agree with you.
it's interesting, you know. I'm just like totally. Some days I'm good, and some days I'm like I have all this stuff coming at me. I don't know if anybody on the podcast feel that way. I don't know if you feel that way, yo. Some days you're like perfectly fine, and all of a sudden you're just like this. All this information's hitting you all at once.
Well, I can have those days, and pandemic or not, I can have those days. So
yeah. That's funny.
So new, but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I hate the way it. I hate the way that our lesson is having to be learned, because it is a lesson. There is a huge lesson at stake.
Yeah.
And I hope that we can all learn the lesson. And, you know, we're all being literally homeschooled right now.
Interesting.
And, you know, there's a lot to be said for that. And there's, now that we don't have the social distractions that we normally live our lives doing,
interesting,
that we're just with ourselves. And you know, if you happen to live with a family, you know, your family members, so you're getting closer with your family. Hopefully there's not bloodshed, but you're getting closer, you know, with family.
No comment.
But primarily you're getting closer with yourself.
Good.
Because I think that's foremost. A lot of the ills of the world are because of splintered psyches. People that are their psyches are just splintered.
Yeah.
And fractured. And so this is about integration and consolidation. And so you're forced to be in the confines within four walls and consolidate.
Right.
I'm just offering a positive turn on what, you know, is kind of scary times.
Yeah. And I know that if folks if you want to learn more about Jost, you know, Jost, your website is Jost Van Dyke .guru, correct? Is that correct?
It is.
Okay. And you guys can read up about his life, different articles. He's also on Facebook. Just look him up, friend him. And, you know, you'll get to know this guy. He's pretty fun. He's pretty exciting. And I'm pretty excited that he decided to come on the air with us and share his thoughts. And just be who he is. And that's why we like him. Jost, anything you want to leave with our listeners before you go? I know you got to run here, but I wanted to give you a chance. I know you've said a lot, and maybe some things are repetitive, but is there anything specifically that you want to just leave us with?
Just to remember that this whole process is a spiritual process, and approach it that way, and that whatever happens on the global stage is really a metaphorical mirror. It's all metaphor, and it all has symbolic meaning. So try to find the symbolic meaning. Try to find the metaphorical meaning of what's happening. You know, if you were to read a book, you know, we're taught when you read a book to understand literary devices that are used in a novel. Apply those to your daily life, and to see that this really is all it's part of a quest. It's part of a journey. And it really is, it's about an apotheosis. It's about, you know, reaching one's highest spiritual expression. And, you know, if I can say anything, just approach your life, even during these challenging times, from that perspective, that you're climbing a mountain and you're going to reach the top. Just know it. Go ahead and claim it. Okay. It's going to happen. And don't rely upon astrology. Don't rely upon what, what the pundits are saying. Rely upon your own voice, your own inner voice, which, again, because of the circumstances, a lot of us are getting in touch with that inner voice.
Yes.
So I leave you with that.
That's awesome.
And thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
Oh, absolutely. It's always a pleasure to have you on. I won't wait so long next time. We'll get you back on sooner.
Well,
yeah, but thanks
you.
Thanks for being here, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And folks, I hope you enjoyed spending some time here with Jost and myself. And like I said, Jost Van Dyke.guru is his website if you want to visit him and get to know him a little better. Jost, I know you got to run. I want to thank you again. Be safe, my friend. Be well. And we will talk to you, and I will follow your posts and comment and give my little opinions from time. Share your stuff on my timeline as well. Thank you, Jost.
Thank you. Thank you, Iggy. Take care. Be safe, everyone.
You, my friend. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed your time here with listening to Jost. He had a lot of information, and a lot of it's, through astrology, through intuition, through mediumship, and he shares a bunch of this stuff on his timeline, and some of it may look a little controversial. Some of it may look like he's, looking at it with certain eyes, but no, he's looking at it from a very open mind and open heart, a very astrology point of view on things. So look at it, and when you read his stuff, just have an open opinion, have an open mind, and have an open heart what you're reading and what's going on. Because we're, as human beings, we're trying to express ourselves, and we're trying to share information with one another, and it's too easy to get upset. It's too easy to get frustrated when we read something at first glance, and and that's where we're now. We're in a great awakening, a great reset, a great whatever you want to call it. And Jost's insight is very powerful, and I really enjoy, connecting with him and speaking with him on and off the air, and just kind of talking about the things that are happening. But right now is an opportunity to work on us. That was kind of the message. This is about working on who we are and what that means and what happens after everything kind of settles down, when the dust settles. Well, I tell you, when the dust settles, we still got more work to do. It's not over. It's not complete, because we got to rebuild. Right now, we're in the tearing down stages of our personal existence, our personal relationships, our personal friendships, our personal belief in our governments, in the things that we process and take in every day. So now we're in this mist of creating and trying to understand. And I know some of you are very fearful, because I speak to some of you sometimes, and we share thoughts, and we share texts, we share messages, and some of you are really concerned, and really bothered and really frustrated what's going on. Hopefully tonight was a good indication that, there is going to be hope. There is hope. And then there is clarity at the end of the tunnel. And there is a moment for us to do better and be better. And, it may not look like we want. That's why I think the confusion is, and the cloudiness is because we've used our memories and our experiences from different vantage points. And now when we bring them into this new realm of existence, it doesn't work. It doesn't feel the same, and it can't apply. There are little things that do, but there are other things that just don't work. You can't fit those things back into the same box that it came out of, because it just grew and it's become much bigger, much more powerful. So just do your best. Do your best to connect, meditate, go for a walk, get out. Just because we're in lockdown, quarantine, whatever you want to call it, you need to go, just even have to walk around your yard. Get your feet, take your shoes off, become barefooted, and just step into the green grass and feel them beneath your toes, and just shake them and wiggle them a little bit, because we need to reconnect with Mother Earth. Mother Earth is our life source. Without Mother Earth, we don't exist. We are not here anymore. We become a different incarnation. We become something that's completely different. Jost shared with us a lot of cool information about the way he saw things, and I know I asked him some serious questions, and he played the fifth on at least one of them, and that's okay. He has the right to plead the fifth. He has the right to his opinion. And even as curious as I am of what he wanted to share, he also is going through a great awakening, and we are going through a great awakening, and that's a very valid point. And most of you already know that. Most of you, especially who are workers, light workers, healers, whatever you want to call yourself, you know that this is a moment for us to reset ourselves, reset our beliefs, reset our thinking, reset our hearts, reset our spirit and our soul, and get it back in alignment with Earth Mother, Sky Father, get it in alignment with the living entity that is the Earth, versus trying to stifle it, control it, drain it, pull from it, strip it, because we've done that already. We've done that so long. We have to find new ways of harnessing energy, through your solar, or through wind, water, whatever. It's time for us to be a little more creative versus trying to be old paradigm. The old paradigm is broken, and is definitely broken now, especially when we have to reset ourselves and get back into the place we need to be. Like I said, we are no longer the same people. We can't be. We can't. That rubber band's been stretched. That rubber band's been pulled. It's still rubber band, but it's stretched now. It's loose. It's ready to invoke and take anything and wrap itself around some new ideas and concepts. Because that's what we do with rubber bands. We wrap them around things, and then we put them together, and it bundles and holds it. Hopefully we're bringing in the right positive attitude, the right positive mindset to that. And some of us are going to go in some very deep, dark places in our minds, because we have to clear out the clutter and make room for this new information, this new energy that's coming through. Because as human beings, we're creatures of habit. And the creatures of habit now have to live differently. The creatures of habit have to do things differently. The creatures of habit can't do or can't say the things they used to do or approach things the way they used to approach, because it's different now. It's different. When they tell you not to leave your house, now you listen. Now you abide. So before, if someone told you not to leave your house, you probably said, okay, screw that, I'm going to go out. But now we listen because we understand that this is a global thing. This is a Mother Earth thing. And we respect the Mother more than it is really the officials. We understand that Mother Earth will punish us if we step out of line. And she's doing her cleansing too. She's doing her thing too, where she's clearing out things. And I told you guys, and as my chief Landis told me, he goes, Mother doesn't pick any favorites. You're not her favorite. The virus is not her favorite. This is survival of the fittest. If you make it, we make it, fine. If we can coexist, fine. If we can't coexist, then you know what? It wasn't meant to be. Ask yourself, why was there an ice age? Why was it frozen? Why was the Earth frozen for so many years? Ask yourself that. Why? Because the Mother Earth had to recalibrate and re-cleanse and reclaim herself and do away with whatever was there. We don't even know what was there, because some of these things are still frozen in the ice. Some of these things are no longer exist. But she does these. She does these cleansings. She does these clearings. And, was it a biohazard chemical? Was it a weapon? Who knows? Maybe Mother Earth said, hey, you know what? We need to cleanse the Earth. We don't know how this sentient being works. We don't know how she functions. We just know that she's alive and she supports us, and we're on her, and we live and we breathe every day. So we have to mind. We have to control ourselves. How many trees will we cut down, tomorrow? How many this or that will we abuse? How many plastic bottles are we going to create? How many more paper bags are we going to make? How many things are we going to take? How many more plastic bags do we need to make? How many more plastic cups do we really need? How many plastic straws do we really need? And these are just some of the problems. This isn't all the problems. And Mother Earth, what's she do? She reclaims it, right? And she puts it back in the Pacific Ocean. She creates an island out of it. And this island becomes a plastic island, but it doesn't help either, because you know what? The creatures that live there, they die and they perish because they eat the plastics. So this is a cleansing for everybody. And but the Mother Earth reclaims everything. That includes you and me. And through the help of Sky Father, with the asteroid that hit the planet and did away with the dinosaurs, new creations came from that. And you know what? And I'm sure there's going to be another asteroid one day that hits this planet and creates a new creation. Because it's just the cycles. It's the cycle of the universe. The universe doesn't like a void. So my curiosity, as a healer, as a shamanic practitioner, as a medicine man, is, since we created these voids of not being in these spaces, what happens? What's going to go on? it's going to be filled, right? With energy, love, whatever, who knows, but these voids have to be filled. And these voids that we've left in our hearts and our minds and our spirit and our souls have to be filled with something. So choose wisely. And so when we're not out in public and we're not connecting like we used to, it's okay. It's all right. Because you know what? When we get back out there, this is what's going to happen in my thinking, is we're going to appreciate things a little bit more than we probably did before. Not take things for granted like we probably did before. And not that we took it for granted because we were rude or disrespectful. It was just the way of life. It was the way we lived. It was the way that was presented to us. And now the constructs are breaking down. The constructs are different. You know, right now we're being patient. Right now we're being in a space where we have to reflect. In a space where we know if we don't connect, if we don't work together, we could cause a lot of problems for ourselves. And so the isolation, which I hate that word, you know, let's just stay home, you know, and let's just be smart about this. If we want to survive, if we want to do better, then let's do the things that we need to do in order for us to be healthy, in order for us to make it through this. When will the green light be given? That I don't know. I'm not sure when the green light's going to come. But I know one thing. If we want to get through this quicker, then we have to kind of work together in this process. And we have to trust one another. And I know sometimes trust is a strong, powerful word because there's a lot of things going on there when you say trust. But I'm going to trust that this separating and keeping apart is doing us a big, big favor. And I'm going to go with that because I want to be able to come back here. And I know one day I will die, but I don't want to die prematurely per se because I didn't listen, because I was defiant, because I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to prove to the world that, yeah, well, this isn't real. No, I don't have time for that because right now my mind is saying, you know what, this is time for you. This is time for me to sit here and go, wow, this is pretty amazing time. It is an amazing time. It's also a time where it also challenges you. If you haven't been challenged, then, you know, you're in a different level or whatever. I don't know, but I've been challenged in my own personal belief systems, my own personal mind about all this. I've been angry and I've been frustrated and I feel like I've been duped and I feel like they're messing with us. And, you know, at the same time, I see the hopeful side that we're all going to make it through this together. We're all going to do well. We're all going to be okay. And, you know, the cool thing is you get to see people's creativity come to work and come to life. This is a new renaissance of sorts where there's going to be some amazing things coming from that. This renaissance of, you know, creation, this renaissance of art, performance, connection. I see people online, you know, doing things together, cooking, cleaning, you know, whatever. Just there's going to be so much creativity that comes from this, which is what I'm excited about. That creativity births all kinds of amazing things. And so that's where I'm focusing my energy, the renaissance, the recreation, the rebirth of humanity, what we will become after all this is said and done. I believe that we'll do better. I believe that we'll have our moments, but I think we'll do better. I think next time we will heed the warning a little bit more clear, and we'll be more understanding, and we'll be more focused versus putting things off. You know, it's easy to scream Chicken Little, the sky's falling, Chicken Little, sky's falling, and no one believed Chicken Little until it was too late, and then the sky fell, right? But Chicken Little wasn't trying to cause a problem. Chicken Little was just trying to say, hey, you know what? We better do something before we do have a problem. I think now humanity will be more prone and more awake to understand that, you know, we're not living on this planet alone. We're not apex predator. We're not number one. We're only number one because we made ourselves number one. You know, and now we have to recreate ourselves within the constructs of Mother Earth and respect her and honor her. Because I tell you, if we don't, she will keep lashing out at us, and she does her normal everyday things. So respect your mother, respect that she loves you and she cares about you, and she'll do whatever it takes to make sure her children are okay. We are her children. And you know what? Honor her, love her. You see trash, pick it up, throw it away, you know? You know, just, you know, there's just 100 things that we can do. And I do really believe that we are on this awakening, this renaissance, this brand new opportunity for creation. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. Maybe you see things differently. But I know not all of us are going to make it. And that's my sadness. Not all of us will come out of this okay. Physically, spiritually, emotionally. And some of us will come out with completely different eyes. And some of us may perish. That is reality. And that is the possibility. And I pray and I hope that none of you have to go through that. And that you have to perish. But you know what? Let's do the best we can with the situations and the circumstances in front of us. Let's do what we can to help each other get through this. Make that phone call. Call somebody. Say, hey, you okay? Drop them a line. Text them, you know. You're not bothering anybody. You know, my dad used to tell me, you know, Hito, the only reason I call you is because I need something, you know. And the day he stopped calling is the day I understand what that meant. He wasn't trying to bother me. So when people call you, people trying to say hi, it's your choice if you're going to answer or not. But you know what? Think about it. People out there really need each other right now. There's somebody out there who's really suffering. So if you're suffering, if you're not feeling good, you can call me. You can send me a messenger, send me a message, and I'll talk to you. And I'll communicate with you if that's what you need. So you do your part. Do what we need to do. Be what you need to be. Just everyone love everybody. And that's all we can really do right now. Because right now it's hard for everybody. Not just hard for Iggy Garcia. It's hard for everybody. And for some people this is a joyful time. And for others it's really frustrating. And for those of you who are thinking and worried about your finances, it's kind of out of our hands right now. But I know that and it's a real thing for you. But have faith that it'll all work out. And that everything will be better. Okay, things will get better. It just takes time. Right now, we have a lot of time on our hands. We have a lot of opportunity to do the things that we always said that we wanted to do. Read a book, write a book, whatever. Do our podcast. Whatever you thought you wanted to do and you couldn't do it, and you're not employed right now, or your employment has been cut down, this is your time. This is your time to do that. This is your time. If you just wanted to sleep in every day, this is your time. If you wanted to write a book, this is your time. If you wanted to paint, this is your time. If you wanted to build a deck, this is your time. If you want to learn how to dance, this is your time. You know, you put in the blank. You fill in the blank right there, whatever you wanted to do. Okay? So with that, I just want to say thanks for tuning in. Yoda and I are about done here for today. Anything you want to say, Yoda?
Be kind to one another. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody. Take care. Be well. Peace and love. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yoda has spoken.
I have spoken. Have I spoken? I didn't get to say anything today. Iggy's not nice to me today.
All right, guys. I'm just having fun here.
Fun? No fun. I'm a Paz.
All right, guys. Take care. I will see you soon. You guys, you want to, there's a Shakti Shakedown dancing that Dawn Thompson's going to be hosting. I think it's tonight, I believe. So if you want to dance and hang out there, you go to her page and do that. Peace and love, guys. 1, 2, 3. I will see you guys next time I'm on. Might be tomorrow, might be the next day, since I have more time on my hands than I probably need. But I'm having fun, and I'm learning, and I'm enjoying it, just like you are. All right, take care, guys. I will see you soon, and thanks to Jost for being on our show. We'll see you next time. Drum circle tomorrow. Who wants a drum tomorrow? Be there, 8 o'clock. My timeline. Later.